Aloha and welcome to this video. So I'm going to be finishing up the sword, or the remastery of the sword in this video. I'm going to be finishing up the handle and the crossguard, putting it all together, putting in the pearl inlay, abalone pearl inlay, lashing up the teeth, and finishing it off. One thing that happened at the end, which was kind of unfortunate, is my video clip corrupted. I didn't realize it was corrupted until afterwards. I've already shipped this piece out, and so I don't have it anymore. So I wasn't able to take any really good final footage. Luckily, I had a piece of footage from my phone. I posted a short video on YouTube Shorts and then also on my Instagram. And so I have a little bit of the piece at the end, and then obviously my wife took some photos of it, and I have those as well. So what I'm doing here is I've just finished sanding up most of the handle. I still have some more work to do on it. Before I sand it up too much further, I'm going to be cutting in these insets. And this is a abalone pearl inset, or inlay actually. It's going to be smooth with the handle. It's not going to protrude. And then I'm just using some epoxy to fill it in. I cut the groove out, or rather I shaped the inset to be about the same dimension as this bit that I have here. It's a 3/4 inch bit, but it's not perfect, and so I'm using epoxy to kind of fill in those holes. And then the abalone is harder than the rest of the material, the rest of the wood, and so I use that file to file down the section and get it mostly in line with the coal wood. And then from here I can finish sanding it off. I decided to leave the end of the handle, or what would be the pommel, flat, and I did that because I'm going to be hammering on it later. So I left it. If I left it as a sharp point, I would just get messed up later on in the process, and so I left it as a flat end. And now that I have the majority of the pieces all sanded down, I can start getting ready to put it together. So I decided I am going to put in a peg. I'm not going to glue the peg. I'm not sure why I decided not to glue the peg. The idea was that I could actually pull the thing apart, but I kind of wanted to glue everything together just so that it'd be really solid and a good fit. So adding in that peg in the handle and going in through the tang of the sword really just adds some mechanical strength to it. That way it definitely can't pull loose. That peg will act as a hold on that. So the first step here is I gotta glue in the crossguard, and then once the crossguard's glued in, I can glue in the handle. I did it all in one go. I let it sit for about a day, and then I came back in and drilled the hole for the peg. I like to usually do this after, just because if I've done it beforehand where I've pegged it before gluing it, and it just doesn't. Oftentimes the hole, I don't drill it in quite the correct location, and so it doesn't look as good. And so what I do now is I glue it together and then I peg it after. I know for knives, knife makers will peg it and glue it all in one step, and that's so that the glue adheres to those pins. But I'm not a knife maker. So now there's just a lot of cleanup work on that epoxy. I've already sanded down everything to 320. I just need to clean up all of the spillover epoxy, clean up any scratches, and then resand all of that down. There was a little bit of gapping in between portions of the handle and the crossguard, and so I used some wood shavings and then CA glue and then some accelerant to harden that up so that I could sand it down really quick. Now it already had slots for the teeth, but I went ahead and cleaned them up, and then I actually extended it a little bit more. So I'm going to be adding an additional tooth to each side of the blade. The reason why that it wasn't as long before was just because of how the lashing was, but I'm not going to have that same style of lashing on this new piece. It's only going to lash up that first section, and then from there it's just going to lash the teeth into place. So the pattern that I'm doing on this is actually a pattern I haven't done in a long time. It's a cross pattern on the lash. And so I drilled 2 holes per teeth in the swordfish bill, and then 2 holes per teeth in each of the tiger shark teeth. And I used a 1/4 inch, or no, it wasn't a 1/4 inch. I think it was a 1/8 inch bit there, and then I'm using just a tungsten carbide bit on my Dremel to tap in the holes in the teeth, and then I can lash. It actually took quite a bit of time to lash all that together, just because I wanted to make sure that it was a nice tight fit and that cross looked good on both sides. Obviously, though, before I can lash it, I need to oil up the piece. The handle that I chose for this remake of the sword was absolutely gorgeous. You can see how beautiful that curl is. The 3D ripple effect just looks awesome. I love the way that the pearl kind of offsets. There's a lot of design work up towards the hilt going onto the swordfish bill where it connects with the tang, and having that pearl down there at the bottom was just a nice contrasting look, and I think it did a good job of kind of tying the entire piece together. And then the rest of the bill is just the swordfish bill, and then there's some epoxy that was used to fill in the swordfish bill to kind of help the sides match a little bit better. But for the most part, it's purely just the epoxy, and then that center koa wood and crossguard and then handle. But I really love how this looked. I like how the center pins looked inside of the inlay part where the swordfish bill connects to the wood. All in all, the piece just looked pretty awesome. I was very pleased with it. I think it's turning out really, really well. The last step now is just to lash it together. I let it sit usually about a day to dry the tung oil. Tung oil is what I use for all of my pieces. I just really like it. It's a little bit more of a natural look. It doesn't really have a stain. It does kind of darken a little bit of woods. It kind of leaves them having that wet wood look to them, and so the natural curl and natural figure really comes out a lot. On lighter woods, it'll kind of darken them a little bit, which is kind of unfortunate, but on the darker woods, it looks really nice. So the lash that I'm doing here is just a really tight wrap all the way around this section. This actually will help keep the bill in place, even though it is epoxied to that center punch out. This will kind of help keep that all tight together. And then the next step here is just to lash in the teeth, and I'm going to do one half at a time, and you can see that cross pattern popping up as I lash this through, and then I'll tie each side off individually and lash on the other side. It took quite a while to do the lashing just because it's a large piece, and so it's kind of awkward angles. But it's a fairly simple lash, though the design pattern that I had on the original sword was quite a bit more complex. It was actually my favorite part of that original sword, but with the new design and the new layout, I knew it wouldn't work. If I made the crossguard a lot thinner, it would work, but that's kind of what I was left with. So this video is kind of washed out. This is my iPhone. This is when I took a video on my phone. I was just playing around with the sword. This is the finished piece. The actual finished video got corrupted on my GoPro, and so I lost that, which is unfortunate. But luckily, I still have this, which still highlights quite a bit of the sword, and you're still able to see a lot of the design work, the wood inset, and that wood goes all the way through. And so originally, I cut out that section in the swordfish bill to get that to fit like that, and then epoxied everything together so it'd be a nice, clean, smooth fit. But I really like how this sword turned out. I think it turned out pretty awesome. I was very pleased with it. I was really happy with the two-handed handle. Previously it was like a hand and a half, and it wasn't quite enough for its weight. And here's some photos that my wife took before I packaged it up and shipped it out. I hope you liked the video. I really enjoyed working on this piece. I didn't do any testing with it. I know I haven't done a testing video in a while. I'll probably post one up here soon. I won't be posting a video next week because of Thanksgiving, but I'll see you after. Aloha.